In this video, I'll be talking you through my prosthetic nose and flat mould applications. Before beginning, I ensured that I had everything I needed and that my model's face was completely clear of makeup, something makeup artist Stephanie Kent recommended during a recent interview that I had with her. She explained how it speeded up the whole process and made the application easier and also makes the artist look more professional and prepared. I began the application by applying the prosthetic nose first. I began by applying the adhesive to the back of the piece, and because I chose to use Prozed, I had to wait for it to dry clear before I could apply it to the skin. The reason I used Prozed as my chosen adhesive for this application was because when I followed out a patch test of adhesives on my model before the application, this was the best adhesive that she didn't react to. This was due to the fact that she had very sensitive skin. This allows you to see how important it is to follow health and safety guidelines and always follow out a patch test, because if this hadn't been done, my model had reacted on the day, my insurance would be void and I would have been held liable for any damage because I hadn't followed the correct procedures. The adhesive that I would have preferred to use during this process was Stalesis, due to the fact that it is a product that I regularly use and have found is stronger and lasts longer than Prozed. However, unfortunately, out in industry you often have to go for what is best for the model rather than what you would like to work with if it means reducing the risk of a reaction. Once the Prozed had dried clear, it was ready to be applied to the face. I applied the piece from the centre and stretched the piece out around the edges so that it was taut to the skin. Once the piece was applied and secured, I began to blend away the edges using a cotton bud and acetone. It's important to blend away from the piece so that the edges melt into the skin. Before this application, I tried different types of tools to blend away the edges of my pieces to find out which was best. I first tried a cosmetic brush, which although it did the job, I found that it was very time consuming, and due to the fact that I was using acetone to blend my edges, the bristles of the brush were falling out and sticking to my piece. This is why I decided that this technique wasn't working and moved to something else. I next decided to try cotton bud, and the improvement was outstanding. The blending time was faster, easier, and no fibres were left behind on my piece, so the authenticity of the piece wasn't reduced, which is obviously why I decided to use it for this final application. My flat mould pieces. I applied these pieces in exactly the same way that I applied my nose. However, I wasn't very pleased with these once I had finished blending them out, because as you'll be able to see in the video, when I made the pieces, I hadn't removed as much silicone as I possibly could. So when it came to applying the pieces, they didn't melt into the skin as well as I had wanted them to. However, I was luckily able to correct this by stippling Prozed around the edges to smooth over any gaps. applying these prosthetic pieces to your model that you take great care since they have been blended using acetone. I made sure that I reminded my model to breathe through her mouth when I was using the acetone close to the nostrils and vice versa when I was working near the mouth. It's important to me that I reduce the amount of fumes that my model would inhale from the acetone since the fumes can be very harmful to health. Once the pieces were applied, I could begin to colour them. I use an Illustrator palette to do this since it is alcohol based and adheres well to silicone. Once again, it's important to remind your model to take care with their breathing when doing this, as pure alcohol, just like acetone, can be harmful to health if consumed. Due to pre-pigmenting, the palette is only needed to apply extra detail to the pieces, which is why I didn't spend too long on this section as there wasn't much that needed to be done. However, despite only using this product for a limited time, it's still important that it is used correctly so that harm to yourself and others is prevented. The first thing you should always be aware of is that your model has no cuts or abrasions in the area where you will be applying the makeup. I did these checks before I even began my application process. This is such an important factor to remember because the alcohol used is very strong and can cause a lot of pain for your model. Moreover, if using paint in and around a cut, you are also contaminating the area and could cause an infection, or if there was not an infection already there, then you would be spreading the bacteria to other areas of the body. Once I was happy with my pieces and had added any detailing which I felt was necessary, I then began to apply the petals around the edge of the face. I used artificial petals for this rather than a silicone piece because I needed lots of them, and I felt that by using a different type of material it would help add a different texture to the piece, which would help really draw the piece together. I again applied the petals to the face using Pros-Aide since I knew my model wasn't allergic to it, and I used the same application technique that I did when applying my flat mould. However, I clearly didn't have to blend out any edges this time. By using these pieces as well, it also helped my piece to be more cost efficient, which was the ongoing theme running through this module. By using artificial petals, it worked out as a cheaper alternative due to the fact that I didn't have to run loads more pieces and saved me more time on the day of application. Once the petals were applied and secure, I could finally begin to apply the makeup to complete the look. It's important to apply any makeup after you have applied your prosthetic pieces because the adhesive will only stick well to natural clear skin. I won't go into detail on how I applied the makeup because it was a very generic makeup application which consisted of brows, foundation, contour, lashes and lipstick. I went with this basic look so that it didn't attract away from my pieces, and I really felt that by keeping the makeup natural it helped complement my look and show the innocence of my character. Despite all of this, even though the makeup was basic, I ensured that I still followed the correct health and safety procedures. This meant that all brushes and sponges were cleaned and sterilised before use, and disposable wands and brushes were used where possible to prevent cross-contamination, and all of my palettes as well had been cleaned and sterilised. Something that I forgot to mention earlier on in this video is how important the positioning of a model and artist is during an application process like this. The reason this positioning is so important is because not only in the short term it can cause discomfort for model and artist, but in the long term, if an artist is constantly scrunched up over models rather than having them at the correct height, this can cause them serious back injuries which eventually could prevent them from working. Once the makeup had been applied, the only thing that was left to do was style the hair. Since my model would be wearing a very intricately styled hat as part of the costume, it seemed a waste of time to spend a copious amount of time styling the hair. This is why I decided to just straighten the hair because not only did it add another texture to the look, but it complemented the innocence of the character and it showed my model in her natural state.